I look like Top Boy in this bitch.
That's not hard.
Right? You ain't getting no food, bro. No food, bro. You ever watch that show?
Nah,
that shit lit, man. The way they be talking though, because food is drugs. I was like, what is? It take you pretty. You know that shit.
Nigga, food.
You ain't getting no food, bro. Man's come around here, bro. You were like, oh, because they like Jamaican and English.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that shit wild, bro. You gotta weed through 2 accents.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Cynicism. I'm Eric.
It's your boy Dante, man, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Amazon original movie, One Night in Miami.
One Night in Miami focuses on 4 historical black figures from the 60s, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke. Semi-true events about them spending time together in a hotel room, brought about by Malcolm X, who he kind of tricks him into thinking it's going to be a party.
Why would you think that you was going to a party with Malcolm X? Like that was the instant trigger for me. And I love Malcolm X, but I know that he not throwing the type of party that they probably wanted to go to.
Right. Once they get there, a couple of important conversations ensue. It's all racially charged, it's politically charged, and socially charged conversations, because Malcolm ultimately wants to disassociate himself from the Nation of Islam and start his own organization. He feels like 3 of his closest friends should have a hand in that. He feels like they have a lot of power in what they do professionally. It's
a pretty joyous occasion overall because they're coming off of Muhammad Ali's historic win against Sonny Liston, in which he became the heavyweight champion of the world. Everybody is excited. They super ready to party. It's a very lighthearted occasion in the beginning, and it kind of stays lighthearted moments throughout, but it becomes more and more intense. It's a lot of good conversations that come around and just about different black people's perspective at that time. And it all takes place in pretty much in this single location at this hotel room.
This is based on a play too, right?
Yep.
This one didn't feel as much like a play as Ma Rainey's.
I would have to agree. I don't know how true the script is to the actual script for the play, but I felt like the way that this was written, it felt more like a movie. So you got Eli Goree, who plays Muhammad Ali, and man, oh man, did he do a phenomenal job.
He really did, man.
I mean, I think out of everybody, him and the gentleman that played Malcolm X, Kingsley Adair, they, to me, I thought captured their characters the most.
Yeah.
But I feel like they also had more of an easier job because out of the 4 of them, those are the 2 personalities that we know. And they are 2 of the biggest personalities of all time. Like they have very distinguishable personalities. I mean, they did a great job, but I do feel like they have a little bit more of an easier role just because we know those people a bit more, especially with Muhammad Ali.
He's
very animated.
Anyway.
Yeah. God, he did a great job, man. He sounds a lot like Muhammad Ali. He favored him too. Like it definitely made sense that he was cast as him. The nonstop joking, and Muhammad Ali just seemed like one of those people that never turned it off quite much.
He did not through the whole movie, man.
He was funny too. The whole time he just cracking jokes. Even in the moments where I felt like he had to be vulnerable was a little bit less of a funny situation. He tackled that very well too.
Dude killed it, man.
He killed it.
And this is really my first time seeing him.
This is one hell of a breakout role to have. He'll be remembered for this. Like I'm looking forward to seeing him in future stuff because of this movie.
And then you got Malcolm X. At this point in his life, he is kind of distancing himself from the Nation of Islam because they have different ideals. In doing that, he's trying to recruit Muhammad Ali, unbeknownst to Muhammad Ali, that he wants him to be not the face of the organization, but to help garner more followers to the organization, basically. Right. He's got all his close friends together. He's the one that who assembled this party. And
yeah, we say that very loosely.
He wants them to use their talents and skills to the best of their ability so as to progress black people forward. I haven't really seen Malcolm X featured in a film this heavily since probably Denzel Washington's version. It was kind of refreshing to see another take. I thought dude really got in the character very well. And you also got to see a vulnerable side of him as well.
Yeah. To your point, I've seen Malcolm X portrayed in movies other than the Spike Lee joint, but more in a smaller capacity. Right. Like he's in Selma, he's in that show, The Godfather of Harlem. He plays more of a supporting role. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen him in a lead role since the Malcolm X movie, so I would have to agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I've never seen him portrayed like this ever, to the point where he was getting challenged and it was stumping him. Malcolm X, one of the greatest debaters of all time. He seems like he never stumbled. He never seemed like he didn't have an answer. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you talk to your friends and because they know you so well, they're able to call you on certain things that probably somebody in the media or somebody that didn't know you wouldn't be able to call you on. And I feel like it was moments where he was having disagreements with his friends and they stumped him, you know, and I never quite saw that from Malcolm X. And I enjoy just seeing that vulnerable side to him. You never really saw Malcolm X vulnerable like that in the media too much.
You have Sam Cooke played by
Leslie Odom Jr.
Sam Cooke is at the height of his career at this point. He owns masters to his music. He's putting on other people like, you know, the Womack brothers. I mean, he's one of the highest selling at least black artists at that time. Malcolm X pretty much wanted to bring him in to use his appeal to white people to also push black people forward. The problem that Malcolm X has with Sam Cooke is that he feels like he's kind of a sellout and he's playing it safe and not really living up to his full potential either. That's kind of where they butt heads. They have like a dynamic where they call each other out on certain things that they do that they might see as hypocritical.
Right. They had the most intense debates, which caught me off guard, because I would have thought if he was going to debate with somebody and really be stumbled by it, would probably be more like a Jim Brown. Mm-hmm. Even Muhammad Ali, just because the mouthpiece he had. Sam Cooke kind of came out of nowhere in that way. I thought both of them were valid in their points. They definitely both brought up some very interesting point of views. It was one of those situations where I couldn't really say that either of them was wrong. Once again, somebody that just did a great job of imitating his voice, because that was him singing, the guy. The way he sung those songs, it was very Sam Cooke-y. Of course, you're not going to be Sam Cooke, but it was very much reminiscent, very close. And I think a lot of people didn't know the history about Sam Cooke, about owning his own music and things like that. I definitely knew about that. I didn't know to the degree that he was owning his own stuff and that how successful he was. I will say that. I didn't know that. Yeah, I had no clue about that.
That was unheard of at that time.
Oh, come on, man. He's a complete pioneer. He was Master P before Master P.
Right. Jim Brown, played by Aldous Hodge, the actor that I'm most familiar with in this movie.
Yes.
He killed it, man.
Yes.
I'm probably the least familiar with Jim Brown out of all these people in the movie, honestly.
Same.
But I know I've always known him to be outspoken and not bite his tongue, especially in the media.
Yeah.
He really brought that energy to the role. This is probably one of the best roles I've seen Aldous Hodge in, personally.
Yes.
He really seemed like he committed to this role as well. He was probably one of the funniest.
Yeah, I was about to say surprisingly comedic. You would have thought it would be all Muhammad Ali. Yes.
He was probably the most cool, calm, and collected out of the whole group.
Right.
But man, he brought like a certain humor to the role.
He did.
That I enjoyed. Like, this was a surprisingly funny movie.
Yes. Jim Brown, man, exudes this whole, it's just a power. It's like power personified, man. And he's just such a larger than life figure. Even his voice, man, he's such a commanding presence. I thought that Aldous Hodge did a phenomenal job at just capturing that energy. You know what I'm saying? Because he was the least animated. He was certainly the most chill. Even though he was a man of few words, when he spoke, it was impactful, you know, and that's a lot of what Jim Brown does. Like, Jim Brown, he's not one of them people that's just gonna run his mouth just because.
With purpose.
Yeah, when he talks, it's a reason for it, and it's gonna have some type of cause behind it. They brought up a conversation that to me is very relevant today. The whole conversation about Black activism, right? And the different phases and the different nuances of Black activism and how it's not one way to be an activist. This was a relevant conversation, especially last year with a lot of the protests and stuff. The conversation came up about, well, you should protest like this, or I should protest like this, and we need to protest like this, especially when it came to our Black celebrities. And I truly feel like it's a perfect storm of a lot of different types of activism. Malcolm X talking to Sam Cooke about how he has a voice and he should be utilizing his voice more so to speak out against Black issues because he has a powerful voice, which I agree with, but I understand that's not everybody's stance. I thought that Sam Cooke made a great point about, hey, I am pushing us forward because I'm empowering Black people economically. I might not be on TV like you and saying, you know, blah, blah, blah to the white man every day, but this is another way that I can attack that system of white supremacy by empowering our people and giving them something that they can live off of and creating more Black millionaires, because that is also another form of pushing us forward. Like, it's not just one way that you can push people forward. You need the people on the front lines. You also need people behind the scenes, and you need everybody in the middle. You know what I'm saying? It's fair to also say that some people don't want to engage in that type of activity, and that should be okay too. If you don't want to be an activist, I'm all right with that too. Like, long as you're not saying anything that will hurt the cause. Malcolm X is a perfect example of it, and there's so many of of our iconic activist figures. But that life ain't easy, man. He barely saw his family. He barely saw his kids.
Yeah.
You know,
Constantly
on the road.
Under attack.
Constantly on the road. Death threats.
Yeah.
You got, it's crazy, man. You know, it's not easy. And granted, these aren't those times, but they haven't changed much. You still are putting a different type of target on your back when you do that type of thing. And it's certainly not something to be taken lightly. And I understand if somebody doesn't want to travel that road, and I'm not going to condemn them or say that they're a bad person just because they don't want to take on that mantle. I know that it's a lot to carry.
One of my favorite moments was another Malcolm X focused moment when him and Sam Cooke, after their little blowout or whatever. Sam, I think, assumed that he never even really came to any of his shows or anything.
Yeah.
Come to find out, Malcolm X had come to several of his shows.
Right.
And he remembered every one of them. And one in particular was when he had an audio malfunction. You know, because of his talent, his capability to move the crowd, that was just a mile hurdle for him. He was able to regain everybody's attention just off of a stomping their feet, clapping their hands.
Yeah. And it came at a time where I felt like it was crucial because they had just had a really big blowout. And I think sometimes when you attack your friends, or not, I don't want to say attack, but when you get into
it's kind of attacking. Verbally attack them when you hurt or about something like that.
I agree. And definitely some of the things that Malcolm said to Sam, I thought was a little unwarranted, but I knew where he was coming from. It can be easy to kind of misinterpret that as, not coming from a place of love. And I'm sure that Sam thought that Malcolm, being the person that he was, maybe wasn't the hugest music fan. But, Malcolm X is one of my favorite figures of all time. The autobiography of Malcolm X is my favorite book of all time. And in that book, you'll learn a lot about him, especially in his early stages before he came who he was. But when he was working in Harlem, he was a big fan of music and comedy, and you never really lose that. You know, when you become an icon, you still you. Granted, you fighting for the cause, but he was a big music fan, and I think that Sam was kind of surprised to hear not only was he a fan, but he had been supporting him along his journey. I say all that to say that sometimes when you hard on people, it can be kind of misinterpreted. But like he said in the movie, he's like, bro, the only reason I say this type of stuff is because I love you so much, and I know how powerful you are. You know, I went to that show and I saw you command the crowd, and I saw that if you could use that power for something else, how impactful it would be. And I understand that. I thought that was a really beautiful moment. You know, I like the vulnerable moments they had in this movie with Muhammad Ali too. He's another figure that's kind of larger than life that you never really see in that light neither. He always seemed like he could take on the world. Even when they kind of hinted that he didn't think really he would win that fight, or that he had doubts about winning the fight against Sonny Liston. It's like, damn, man, as much power as some of these people exude.
Yeah, he never let you know he was scared. No matter how he felt inside, he would internalize that. And what you saw on the outside was always a fierce, confident person. Another thing is,
I think is noteworthy is that Regina King directed this movie. She is a whole legend. I don't know if she's ever directed a feature film in its entirety. She killed it.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, golly, that woman, she just does it all, man. What are the key moments I'm trying to think?
Oh, I guess the final Sam Cooke song.
Oh, yeah.
That was dope.
It was.
Yeah, he did a really good job. That was it felt very personal. The way he sang that song, man. He really did a good job on that.
Throughout the movie, they're having these conversations about Sam's music, and Malcolm is chastising them about his music all being pretty much fluff. And in the times that we're in, he's not making anything that's really relevant to the struggle and the times. Sam kind of mentioned yeah, man, I wanted to write a song like that. I like songs like that, and that doesn't mean I haven't written any songs like that. And then at the end, you kind of get to see the song that he was talking about, and it was Change Gonna Come,
which is probably his most well-known song, right?
And one of the best songs ever written of all time. Song. And it's still relevant today. It's one of them timeless, it's just a timeless classic. And to hear him sing that at the end, after everything that had happened, especially after all of the conversations that they had with regards to him and his art specifically, to see him end on that note.
That was a great way to end.
Yeah, and then to have Malcolm actually looking at him on TV singing, man, that's dope. That's a dope ending to this movie.
So overall, One Night in Miami, it was actually surprisingly better than what I expected it to be. Yeah. I knew it would have some serious undertones, but I thought it was funny. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of funny moments in it, but it's not as funny as I thought it was going to be. It was lighthearted in some points, but it was serious when it needed to be. I enjoyed it, man. I think everybody did a great job with their performances and portrayals of these iconic figures. Because of that, I'm going to give One Night in Miami a 8.5 out of 10.
You know, man, this movie, I expected it to be good. I did not expect for it to be as great as it was. I'm going to be really honest with you. Anytime that you have a movie where you're portraying such iconic figures, it's always a reluctance on my part, because it's like, damn, you got some big shoes to fill. And it's not easy sometimes to capture these people's essence and what made them great. And I felt like everybody in this movie killed it and did such a phenomenal job. Them being so believable as those iconic figures made this movie so engaging. You know, it felt like you were watching them. It really drew me in on that level, man. I thought Regina King did a phenomenal job directing this movie. I mean, she's great, but she definitely has a future in directing. Overall, for me, I'm going to give One Night in Miami a 9.
Thanks for tuning in to our review of One Night in Miami. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Definitely worth checking out. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any suggestions for any movies or trailers or shows that you'd like us to review, don't forget to drop a comment below.
Absolutely. And if you guys have seen One Night in Miami, please let us know what you thought. If you've seen the play, let us know what you thought about that too. What are some of the differences that you noticed? Who were some of y'all favorite characters? Maybe some of your favorite moments? We'd like to know that as well. We appreciate y'all, man.
Thank y'all.
Peace.
I had one too many drinks.
Man, that's my shit. That is my fucking
at the embassy. Dog, when that song first came out, I thought it was called Tommy.
You know what? Hey, I hear you. Hey, no, that makes sense. I 100% hear that.
It's just how he was like enunciating.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've never thought about that. You're actually 100% right.